All right, I'm calling this meeting of the Little Calumet River Basin Development Commission to order for Wednesday, November 19th, 2025. Please set your phones on stun and let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Lambert, nice to see you. Please call roll.
Present.
Tom Gazdecki,
Present.
Anthony Broadnex,
Present.
Dave Castellanos,
Here.
Ron Ware,
Here.
Robert Ochi,
Here.
Yvonne Whitaker,
Present.
William Baker.
President, we have a quorum. Next up, my favorite part, statements to the board from the floor. If you want to talk about the agenda items, the IU football team, come stand at the podium, say name and address for the record. Going once, going twice. Bring it back here, moving right along. Next up is the approval of minutes from October 22nd, 2025. I'm sure you all read them. Modifications, motions, what say you?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a motion that we go ahead and accept the minutes as presented.
There's a motion there, a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's out there forever. Next up is the chairman's report. I was going to do a little something different, but you know, I'm old. I'm going to do the same thing. We're here about a $275 million man-made flood control project that if it isn't properly maintained, that's what happens. In September 2008, you see what happens when that type of a project doesn't get the maintenance that's perpetual, that needs to be done, so that kind of trauma doesn't happen to our community again. We're far better prepared today than we were prior to September 2008, because looking at those pictures, it changes the perspective. If it doesn't, it should. Also, it's an economic development program, because by having this in place, we are no longer in the floodplain having to pay mandatory flood insurance as a part of a mortgage. You live by the river, buy some flood insurance. But from the standpoint of being able to have that removed from mandatory, it puts about $4 million every year back into the community. That's a pretty good thing. Never lose sight of the fact that this is dealing with Mother Nature. We get 10 gallons of water for a 5-gallon bucket, we're going to have some issues. So we're far better prepared to deal with those issues today than we were prior to September 2008. Trauma shouldn't be why we do these things, but guess what it is? That's enough. Finance report. Need approval of the claims from November.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the claims in November of 2025 in the amount of $364,553.34.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Repay.
Yes, sir. Just go through some of them. Great Lakes electrical maintenance, $17,982. Those for the pump station inspections and the additional mega testing that we do for each of our stations. $15,000 for Wiltshire doing the clearing from Chase Street to Clark Road. $33,000 for DLZ for Kennedy Avenue Bridge. And then we have some various other ones that if you have any questions on it.
Any questions for Mr. Repay about paying the bills? We mowed again, huh?
Yeah, we may mow again, but the snow happened, so I don't think we're going to be mowing anymore. We'll see.
Any other questions about the bills?
Are we going to be doing more clearing from Chase to Clark? Are we going to go further east or what?
Yes, we have the drone that went up to do the video inspection. So basically from Burr to the confluence, then from confluence all the way to Lake Michigan, then from the confluence back Deep River all the way back to the dam. So if we find any in that, and since they've gone up now, the leaves are falling down, we're going to go address them as we see them. Depending if we have to float it, we'll do it. Otherwise, if we can get it from the land, we'll do that.
And the pedestrian bridge inspection, is that for all of them or only for certain ones?
We did all of our pedestrian bridges. And we have to do that every 5 years for the Corps, show them that it's.
All I got.
Any other questions about the bills? Be there none. We have a motion and a second. Mrs. Lambert.
Yes.
Tom Gazdecki,
Yes.
Anthony Broadnex,
Yes.
Dave Castellanos,
Yes.
Ron Ware,
Yes.
Robert Ochi,
Yes.
Levon Whitaker,
Yes.
William Baker.
Yes. All right, moving right along. Next up, the Executive Director's Report. Mr. Repay, what's going on in the field?
Well, for the interest of time, I'll try to be as quick as possible. We have the comprehensive watershed study presentation tonight. That will be the first thing that you watch. That's the study that we updated from the previous ones from about 5 years ago. We went and visited with all the communities. So Structure Point did that. They'll give a presentation. I'll give them an introduction when that happens. We were able to secure some tax sale properties. The Rock Riffle extension project is out for bid and that should be opened and will be opened in December. We're going to talk about Kennedy Avenue Bridge later, so I don't necessarily need to go into that. The 408 applications, we've got all of the applications approved at least on a temporary basis or a provisional basis, except for our favorite sandbar. Unfortunately, the government shut down, so we're at a little bit of a lull right now. But hopefully they said 6 months ago that they'd have it done by the end of the year. So we've got about a month and a half to go. I had already spoken about the drone survey that has taken place. I think they're finishing it up hopefully this week. We've done channel clearing and the Hart Ditch stabilization project will begin shortly after Thanksgiving.
High velocity channel?
High velocity channel will also be done during this winter as well.
And that's at where is that?
That's at the confluence of Hart Ditch and the Little Cal. So every 3 years or so, we have to take out the sediment that's accumulated there and dispose of it so that once the water hits, the rain hits the 100-year event, it then diverts it to the east. We had a advisory board meeting. We had 8 applications. You'll hear 3 of them today. Although the other 5 all wanted to be heard today. But I figured that you guys didn't want to spend your entire day listening to the application. So nonetheless, that's what you'll hear, and I'll introduce each one as they.
Any questions for Mr. Repay about what's going on? Love it. Moving right along. Introduce the next one, please, Mr. Repay.
So we're on the applications. The first application is from the Lake County Surveyor's Office. It's for the
I thought we were doing a comp plan first. No?
Oh, that's right, I am. Darn it. Sorry. I'm sorry, Rachel. She there?
I'm here. It's all good.
Sorry, Rachel. Yeah, Rachel, Anna, and David, although David's still recovering for spilling his Coke on his boss. Hopefully he's still there. Is he still there? He's not in there, is he?
He's right here.
He's right here.
Oh, there he is. I just passed him. What am I doing? I'm happy that he's here. He hasn't fired yet. So they went and contacted all the various municipalities.
They's who?
What's that?
They is who?
Our consultant Structure Point.
Okay.
Feel like an English teacher now. They contacted the Structure Point. Porter County, all the municipalities, the only municipalities that didn't respond are New Chicago and Cedar Lake. Everyone else responded, had several meetings. I attended some of them, didn't want to attend all of them, but clearly a more thorough job to reach out to all these different groups as to what their most important projects are. There are prices to all of them. Some of you may like, some of you may not like. And so with that, I'll let them speak to it and you can ask them questions. It's 99% complete. So if you have something to add, now would be a good time before they send us the final bill. It's all you, Rachel, or Anna, or David, whichever, who wants to come. You want to?
Listen to the English teacher.
Sorry. You're going.
You're just going real quick.
Oh, he's going really quick.
So I'm Dave Haas. I'm with American Structure Point, as Dan said. We've been just really our pleasure to work on this project for the board here. I've been working for 20 years in stormwater, so really excited to present this to you. It's a pleasure, and thank you very much. Rachel and Anna will take it from here, though.
Yeah. So just like brief introduction, my name's Anna Gridley. I've been working for American Structure Point for 6 years, and I'm a project engineer.
And I'm Rachel Sparks. I'm a project manager with Structure Point. Been in the industry about 10 years and with Structure Point for 4 years.
So we're going to just jump into this. It's a really brief high level overview of kind of the process we went through and then some of the findings that we feel were more important to highlight to this group. So the purpose, obviously, of this plan was to guide the future watershed and floodplain management for the area and build upon the previous plans that were completed in 2013 and 2021. We wanted to go ahead and reassess the prior plans and the projects that were mentioned in those, but then also identify new opportunities that have presented themselves since those times. And then, of course, the whole point of this is to ensure the ongoing compliance with Army Corps for the federal flood control system. So stakeholder engagement, as Dan said, we reached out to all of the 19 stakeholders, including 15 municipalities, and then Lake County Surveyor's Office, Highway Department, Parks Department, and then NDOT as well. And the engagement methods that we used were standardized questionnaires, which we developed and sent out to each one of the stakeholders. And then we also did one-on-one interviews to elaborate on some of those questionnaire answers. Some of our methods, so this is kind of the process we worked through. We reviewed the existing plans to familiarize ourselves with what was out there and the different stakeholders. We developed those questionnaires, and then we asked those stakeholders when meetings would be when would be a good time for those meetings, and then we met with them to discuss those questionnaires. And then from there, we took all the information we gathered. We did some project mapping and then categorized the projects. Then we prioritized based on what was presented by stakeholders as their priorities, and then we came up with cost estimates for each. And then we also identified some commonalities that were presented by multiple stakeholders as an overall interest that the board could potentially consider. This is just an example of the questionnaire. So in section 1 is where we listed all the projects from previous plans, and then they were able to provide an update on where those were, and specific dates and costs that may have been left out. And then in section 2, it was an opportunity for them, the stakeholders, to list projects that were not mentioned in the previous plans but were completed between 2021 and this current update that we were working on. In section 3, they were able to list the new projects. So this was an opportunity to just get it on paper. Here's what our proposed future projects are, and then we use this section to really dive in our meetings with the stakeholders. And then in section 4, we just listed some miscellaneous items that would help us kind of walk through and understand how each stakeholder and municipality functions. And then also, this was the opportunity for them to list the critical areas or locations that they wanted us to make sure that we included in this plan. So after the questionnaires were completed and then the meetings were completed, we were able to identify over 200 individual projects, which was amazing. This picture on the left is the recently completed Sowerman Woods project, and then the photo on the right represents the Wood Street proposed Wood Street pump station upgrades project. From there, once we had all the projects and understood where they were located, we did some mapping so that way you could understand like where each project was located without, we just wanted to make sure you knew where they were at instead of a map without the project names on it. So we made sure to add the names to each one of the shapes for each stakeholder. And each project was given a category. Those were regional, semi-regional, local, maintenance, and operational. Regional projects are there proposed to improve the water surface elevations or operational performance of the major waterways in the watershed. And then semi-regional projects, they span multiple jurisdictions and they address flooding and maintainability across a more broad area. And they're not limited to the primary tributaries that the regional category are limited to. The local projects, they deliver benefits within a single jurisdiction, and that includes drainage improvements or localized flood reduction. And then, of course, maintenance is clearing, cleaning, dredging, just improving the overall conditions of existing stormwater infrastructure. And then operational improving the function, coordination, and understanding of the flood control systems. And then these would support better understanding, forecasting, planning, and response during those storm events. I believe Rachel's going to take it from here.
Yeah, thanks, Anna. So after we categorized the projects, we also considered prioritization and cost estimates as well. So not all stakeholders indicated priorities, but for those that did, we took that into consideration and made sure to note that in the report. Cost estimates we developed from several different sources. If there was no prior information about the costs, our team developed those as part of this study. We also had some really good information from the local jurisdictions in terms of costs, whether that be from recent construction bids or engineers' cost estimates during the design phase. So if that was available, we included those. And then also, if there were costs from the previous 2013 and 2021 studies, we took those into consideration and then also updated those numbers to today's dollars. So once we had everything categorized, prioritized, and costs developed, we put that all into a table. So this is just a snapshot from town of Maryville. So they had several different projects throughout the town that they wanted included in the study. So you can see here, this is how we organized it for all of the stakeholders. So project name, classification, watershed, the phase that it's in, whether it's still a concept, whether it's study, design, or going to construction. And then also the cost estimates and then notes about how those were developed. Following the tables in each section, we also have descriptions that just cover more details about the projects if you're interested in learning more about the scope of the project or exactly what it entails. So this is just also an example from the corresponding Maryville table that for these couple of projects here. Like Anna mentioned earlier, we identified a few commonalities across basically all of the jurisdictions we talked to. These are our top three that we identified after going through all of the interviews. The first was the request for rental or semi-frequent access to stormwater maintenance equipment, such as a Marshmaster for removal of Phragmites, logjam removals, other types of maintenance that doesn't always happen very frequently, but when it does, it's very much needed. So a lot of communities felt that they do this type of maintenance annually or biannually, and purchasing a piece of this equipment, since it's so specialized, doesn't really make sense from a cost perspective. But they were all very interested in some sort of cost share program or rental program to access this equipment annually or every so often when they need it. Second was assistance from the Commission with land acquisition. So there are several reasons for needing to acquire land, whether that be from flood-prone areas to provide additional storage or access to ponds for maintenance. Communities just felt that they don't always have the funds to acquire these parcels, but once they are acquired, they would be able to maintain them. And that kind of leads into our third item here, the HOA pond maintenance and management assistance. So almost every community also reported that the long-term maintenance of ponds throughout their community is an issue. And often it's because HOAs either don't have the funds, don't keep up with the maintenance themselves, become defunct over time and nobody's managing it. A lot of different reasons. So those responsibilities end up falling to the local jurisdiction, and they just need assistance with either acquiring those ponds, since they're often located on private properties, or funds to assist with the maintenance to improve water quality and keep the ponds functioning as they're intended. We also wanted to highlight a couple of priority projects that the Commission Dan stated that are priorities for the Commission over the several coming years. One being the Little Calumet River conveyance improvements from Hart Ditch to Kennedy Avenue, which would reduce the sediment along this entire stretch of the river. The Kennedy Avenue Bridge reconstruction, which sounds like everyone's pretty familiar with that project. And then Old Ridge Road over Deep River Bridge reconstruction. The Ridge Road itself is not in poor condition structurally, but it is undersized. So adding additional waterway area to that bridge and reconstructing it would improve the hydraulics throughout the corridor. Last, we have several regional and high impact projects that we identified throughout the study. So these were our top 7 that we identified that had several different stakeholders involved and had regional benefits that we just wanted to make sure were noted. There were projects along Hart Ditch that Lake County Surveyor's Office and Town of Dyer are pursuing that have a regional impact. The Gary Marshalltown Marsh and the Hatcher Park Complex, which involves Lake County Collaborative, City of Gary, and the Little Cal Commission. Cherville Ditch and Dyer Ditch Teeble Ponds restoration. This includes Lake County Surveyor's Office, Town of Dyer, and Town of Cherville. Also, unregulated deep river clearing and logjam removal along a long stretch of the deep river area. This would involve Surveyor's Office, Hobart, Maryville, Lake County Parks, and the commission itself. Old Ridge Road over Deep River, as we already mentioned, since it's in the city of Hobart and it's a Lake County highway bridge, that would also involve those 2 stakeholders. And then Deep River and Little Calumet confluence storage improvements. This is an area of flood prone area near the 8094-65 intersection with so NDOT, Gary, and the Little Cal Commission are all showed interest in providing additional flood storage in this area. And then lastly, the Gary Regional Storage Project. This it would mostly be spearheaded by Town of Maryville, but since it also involves land within the city limits of Gary and also has some interest from Lake County Parks, that's also those 3 jurisdictions would be involved. Lastly, we have some recommended next steps from the results of the study. We'd recommend that the commission consider purchasing a Marshmaster or similar maintenance equipment to start this co-op or cost-sharing program for communities to access on that annual or biannual basis to complete that maintenance. We'd also encourage municipalities to submit proposals that are aligned with this comprehensive plan. As Anna mentioned, we have over 200 projects that we included in this study, and it sounds like we're going to hear a few of those tonight. And then lastly, we would suggest that the commission revisit this effort again in 5 to 10 years to see what's changed and if any updates need to be made. And with that, we're happy to take any questions.
All right, gentlemen, any questions for these folks? I'll start. You had each community had a table, all right, as far as the projects that they were interested in. Are those prioritized by the town, by your ID, by what you're recommending, or how are those shown on the table?
So the numbering is not in priority order. We just put the ones in bold that are prioritized, indicated by the town.
Okay, and then you said there was a list that you have of projects that you thought as a comprehensive were of significance.
Yes, that's in the last section of the report. It has its own section with all.
Are there
that
dollar
covers
amounts
all the
associated with
details.
those, or are those back in the tables?
Those are back in the tables, but we can provide that additionally in that section if that would be helpful.
All about the money. Thank you.
I have a few, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
Yeah, just off the top, what was the response rate from the stakeholders? You said there was 19. Did they all respond or?
All but 2.
Yeah,
all but
everyone responded except Cedar Lake and New Chicago.
Okay. Really small ones. No, Cedar's not. And then of the 200 projects identified, I have like 4 questions. Of the 200 projects identified, how many of those were carryovers from 2013, 21, and 21 that weren't completed yet, out of curiosity? You're on mute, Rachel.
Anna, do you have a sense for that? We can get that
So
information
that
to
wasn't
you.
something that we tracked. We tracked it via those questionnaires, but that's certainly something that we could go back and, like we said before, we can like add that in or at least report
Okay.
back on.
Yeah,
how
maybe
it
just a report
compares.
back. I would appreciate that. And then Anna, when you were I just want to make sure I understood when you were defining regional versus semi-regional. I think I got it from Rachel, but I thought you said something about semi-regional having multiple jurisdictions, and then it sounded like you said regional had some like limitations. Maybe I misunderstood it.
The regional pertains to like the major waterways, and it's across different jurisdictions as well. But semi-regional, it doesn't just pertain to those primary tributaries. It's more focused on smaller.
Regional is bigger than semi-regional?
Regional is, yes.
Okay, that's what, yeah, when you
Yeah.
said not limited to the tributaries, that threw me a little bit. Okay. And then last one is a bit of a wild card, I guess. Um, on slide 15, you talked about the three commonalities, okay, equipment and, HOAs and buying land. Okay. And then you kind of rounded it out on slide 17 with the list of seven. My general question, because we all are from the area, as you know, we know where we live. What's your professional opinion, if you have one and are at liberty to say? Um, and I don't know if these seven projects answer this, but on the overall area topography, and I would call it like super regional solutions, kind of based on those commonalities and things like that. And just hear me out just for 1 minute. The backdrop is we all know we live in a kind of a marshy, swampy area. It's relatively flat. And so the issues that were on slide 15, these are like constant issues that most of us can remember our entire lives. And this commission is, generally speaking, kind of forward focused, and we don't want to just keep fixing band-aids. Is there something we could do to eliminate, mitigate like some of these problems long term? Big question there, sorry.
Yeah, I would say as far as the sediment accumulation, I think some of these regional and high impact projects would make a big impact in terms of reducing the sediment load. I know the Heart Ditch projects, like the one that was already completed, that provides a two-stage ditch function for additional storage and improved water quality benefits. So I would say just continuing to pursue these large flood storage areas would be helpful. I know Lake County Parks also had a lot to say about just having the storage really benefits the water quality. So I think the more that you do that, the more benefits you're going to see across the watershed.
Are any of those are any of those in those seven projects that you listed? Like
Yeah,
hydro
absolutely.
storage okay.
So I can share my screen again here. 1 second.
And I was also curious about the last one. You call it the Gary storage thing, but it was driven by the town of Maryville. If you could just brief that
Yeah.
up.
So so I'd say we talked about Heart Ditch a little bit, and then the Cherville Dyer Ditch that would also improve. These are all kind of storage and water quality improvement projects. The Gary Regional Storage. So in Maryville, Anna, correct me if I'm wrong. I think I'm remembering this right. So in Maryville, they have a lot of flooding issues. I think it's near 53rd Avenue. And they've identified an area upstream of that street, but it's actually in Gary that has a lot. There's not a lot there. It's pretty empty. That would serve as a good storage area to hold that water back and then reduce the floodplain limits
And
within the
the
town of
city of Gary
Maryville.
actually expressed interest in that one too?
I think we talked about it. I think Jay's on the call.
Coordinating stakeholder groups I'm looking at. I assume
Yes,
these were
so
like favorably disposed to the project.
we didn't go as far as reaching out to start coordination on all of these. Some of them are already in
Right.
process. The Gary Regional Storage one was still like in the conceptual phase from Maryville's perspective. So we recommended that they reach out directly to Gary. But we did
Okay.
meet with Gary as well. I think Jay Anderson is on the
So
call.
these would be the primary stakeholders. It's not that you're saying that these stakeholders have expressed an interest or favorable disposition to these projects necessarily, right?
Correct, not yet. I think some of them are already in process, but then others are not in design or even in the study phase yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I
It
think
might
that's
highlight
mostly
that.
the stakeholders who would need to coordinate on said project, and then
Correct.
also who could potentially see benefits from these projects is what we included in that last column.
That might be worth a little note in the back of the report to say which ones have already expressed an interest and which ones haven't, just for our awareness, I suppose.
Yeah, we can add that.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone else?
On the maintenance projects, did you look at if they're done, is the impact regional or local?
Anna, do you want to take the maintenance question?
Yeah, so for each individual project, it was assigned one of those categories, and if it was maintenance, then that was identified. Is that what you were asking?
Well, does it affect just the local community or does it affect the whole? That's my
So-
question.
Yeah, so maintenance and local, I think, are interchangeable in the maintenance department just because they're kind of smaller scale, with the exception of these larger scale projects that are categorized as regional, because some maintenance might be included in those regional or semi-regional projects.
Did it?
One more question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman. On your tables on each of the cities and municipalities, you have 4 categories for cost estimates. You said number one was done or performed by American Structure Point, the other 3 by local jurisdictions or others. And it looks like the only one that's clearly identified cost estimates, benchmarking it to this year, is the cost estimate updated from previous watershed plans from $2025. Are the other 3 basically benchmarking it from midpoint of this year, last quarter of this year, projecting forward to next year?
Correct. Yeah, we should have said. So all of the costs are in 2025 dollars. It's just that the source of the original numbers vary, whether our team developed those using recent bids or other historical data and updating that to 2025 dollars, or if for example, I think Winfield had several where the design is ongoing and they had cost estimates directly from their consulting engineer from this year, so we put those in. And then if we didn't have any other cost information, we referred back to the 2013 or 2021 reports if those carried through and updated that to $2025 dollars.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
Yeah. Back at, I think, slide 10, 11, and 12, can you bring those back up? I
Sure.
think you did a color coding by town/city. And I was wondering. Yeah, that's it. Number 10. Yeah, I was wondering, in addition to the color coding, because when we have our watershed applications, they sort of come in by construction, design/engineering, or maintenance. And maybe if you could code them each, if there's a project by a C, a E, or an M, if you can kind of classify them by that. On your following slide, you got maintenance or operational. And so if you can kind of, and maybe you can include operational as a 4th category even, in addition to construction, engineering, and maintenance. And if there's a way that you can kind of maybe put that letter inside of inside of
Into the mapping
information. Into the
information.
mapping.
Yeah, that should be, we can add that.
Okay. Thank you.
Is that it, Levon?
Yeah, that's all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions? Thank you all. That was outstanding. There'll be more.
Thank you.
I guarantee you that. All right, moving right along. Mr. Repay, introduce the applications, please.
Sure. The next application, who I tried to introduce earlier, is for Schoon Ditch Maintenance Project, brought to you by Lake County Surveyor's Office. You're gonna be ready. Christopher Burke here will be presenting. Joe, as to the project, what it consists of, and some of the issues that they have found and why this is a justifiable expense. So we'll be hit the light. Can anyone see? Try me to hit the lights a little bit or no? All good? Yeah. You're it. Down for that.
There we go. Thank you, Dan. Good evening, everyone. My name is Joe Wilk. I'm a water resource project engineer with Christopher Burke Engineering. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Lake County Surveyor's Office to present a funding request for the Schoon Ditch Maintenance Project. This here is an overview of the project. It's right up the road here up Calumet Avenue. Runs from Calumet Avenue on the west end to the confluence with Hart Ditch on the east. You got Katy Marsh Ditch coming in on the east as well. That is the NIPSCO right away. You see that grass area through the middle. You also have the Town of Munster Community Hospital here, the southwest corner of the project, Munster High School here as well. And I'll get through these items here as we move along. Wants to move along. There we go. So what I'm going to talk about briefly this evening is project background, the scope and planned maintenance activities, as well as the requests and benefits we anticipate from this project. This picture is here standing on Calumet Avenue looking east, which is downstream. You got Fisher Street on the right in Community Hospital. You can see the building on the right as well.
A lot of riprap there.
And some background. Key waterway function of Schoon Ditch. It's crucial in managing stormwater drainage for the town of Munster. It has over 2 square miles of drainage area. A proper functioning ditch helps prevent flooding on Fisher Street, the nearby homes and businesses. The hospital as well, Community Hospital, is right along Fisher Street, main arterial street for ambulance traffic and such. And as I mentioned, I'm here on behalf of the Surveyor's Office, who manages this waterway as it is a regulated drain.
Regulated drain.
So previous work around 20 or so plus years, a little before my time in the professional realm, the Surveyor's Office in town addressed the severe erosion, which is facing this bank. So they lined it with riprap all the way from Calumet Avenue down to confluence with Hart Ditch, around 1.4 miles. Toe to top of bank, I think, as I said, that it's definitely helped improve flow capacity through there, did vegetative clearing as well, and left large diameter trees, which you see in this photo. But as you can see, there's plenty of other invasive and overgrown shrubs and vegetation that have been growing in those 20 years that need to be addressed.
Maintenance issue, huh?
Yes. So why importance of maintenance? Why is it needed? Vegetation overgrowth, as I've said, sediment buildup. This year is along Fisher Street as well. On the left, you got sediment buildup, creating islands in the middle of the channel. All these items are effective to keep the ditch flowing for these large storm events, which we designed to. So, current project scope and planned maintenance activities. Removing invasive and overgrown woody vegetation is a key part of this project. This photo just east of Columbia Avenue, where it becomes much more vegetated, the waterway, overgrown with honeysuckle, buckthorn, plenty of shrubs out there that are inhibiting more native vegetation from growing. There's a lot of trash and debris as well. Clearing these obstructions will help prevent blockages in the waterway for those large storm events, as well as some bank stability. Even though it was lined with riprap 20 plus years ago, there's a few patches where it's sloughed into the channel that needs repair. I'd say about less than 5% is need of stabilization measures. So it's holding up pretty well over those 20 plus years. Sediment removal is a key part as well, especially on the western end, most upstream. This is at the Columbia Avenue culverts. A lot of sediment buildup in one of the tubes conveying the ditch under Columbia Avenue, as well as vegetative overgrowth that is inhibiting flow through that culvert that is definitely decreasing its cross-sectional area Again, you get that big event, it will be backing up on the upstream side, which is where the critical area is, such as Fisher Street and the community hospital. This is on the upstream side of that exact culvert. You got sediment sloughing into that right tube, as I mentioned, on both ends. So what are we gonna do? Riprap placement at certain locations, which are needed. Again, that's less than 5%, I estimate. Based on from the 20 plus years ago, when the work was done by the town and surveyor's office, gave me a basket at this location here to free up that cross-sectional area opening. And this is at Fisher and Columbia, as well as throw down native seed and blankets along the area where we're doing work above the riprap to get that more natural feel to the waterway. Natural. So what we're all here for, the funding request. This project went out to bid. Yeah, Gary Up Construction was a low bidder at $647,500. The surveyor's office is requesting half of that, $323,750. So long-term benefits we're seeing, that would be seen from such a project: flood risk mitigation, as I've said multiple times, ecological health promotion. Just trying to help. Those large diameter trees we were going to leave on the bank, they're holding up just well. There's plenty of birds' nests at the top of them when I've walked this ditch over the summer and fall. So leaving those, getting rid of that lower level invasives, water quality preservation, reducing pollutants, contaminants in the water bodies by that native seed and blanket, as well as just enhancing the overall aesthetics of the waterway. This here is at the confluence with Hart Ditch, as you see in the back of that photo. There's a trail along the Nipsker right of way, asphalt trail that is used by many, and I know there's some projects going on in this area that will definitely see much more pedestrian use along this trail. So really looking to enhance the aesthetics of the waterway as well as to keep it flowing. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, questions for this gentleman? I'll start. How many structures other than the culverts? Are there any? As far as flap gates, those types of things into this ditch or during this stretch?
There's outfalls coming in from various.
Is that part of what you're gonna be working on?
No.
How come?
Well, we'll be stabilizing outfalls, but not working on any backflow preventer.
So any of the preliminary, did you look at those structures to see after X amount of years what kind of condition they were in?
Yeah, we've looked at that and we spoke with the town. There's one outfall with the backflow preventer that definitely could look into doing some upkeep and maintenance on that.
Just out of curiosity, why wouldn't that be included in this project?
That is more of a town
Even though it's the regulated drain?
For the outfall aspect of it.
So the outfall, so help me with that. So the municipalities are responsible for the outfalls and the county is responsible for the structures.
Maintaining conveyance through the waterway.
So, great. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
When was the last time the ditch was maintained?
2005, 20 years ago. It's about the rough cycle of maintenance.
How many times is Fisher Street overtopped in front of the hospital there on the north?
We met with the town and the hospital this summer. We go before putting together our plan set. To our knowledge, it has not.
That it? Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Next. I go with the wish of the chairman. Next one up is for the town of Cherville. I know, I do too, after 16 years. The next one up is town of Cherville for SCADA telemetry. I don't want to take away too much because they'll tell you, but I will tell you that I believe 2 stations are theirs and 1 is the counties that they sort of manage. So with that, I'll let him do his presentation.
That is correct. One of the counties, 2 are Schererville. Thank you for having us tonight. My name is Chad Nondorf, Director of Public Works for the town of Schererville. We're looking for a funding opportunity to add these 3 stormwater stations into the newly constructed water department SCADA system. What is SCADA? Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition. This is our old system on there right now. Starting in January, Austrian Electric will be installing PLC cabinets at all these water facilities. We want to incorporate these 3 stormwater stations into this main SCADA project. We'll be able to remotely monitor, allows personnel to monitor conditions at these 3 stormwater stations. It'll have data collection capabilities, be able to gather it and evaluate it. Control capabilities, be able to control the machinery and the equipment. Our SCADA system will be used to monitor the stormwater systems and enhance efficiency and reliability. The 3 locations, the first one is at the Stonebridge Stormwater Pumping Facility. Second one is at Starlight and Summer Stormwater Pumping Facility. And the third one is at the Lake County owned Hartsdale Pond. That also has a pumping facility. Stonebridge, there's 2 30-horse motors with 12-inch vertical style pumps. Discharge piping has dual 16-inch pipes. It pumps into the regulated Cherville ditch, the Lake County regulated Cherville ditch. The facility drains the Stonebridge subdivision pond, as well as sections of Eagle Ridge Drive and sections of the US 41 commercial corridor. There is a natural gas backup generator on site. Second one is Starlight. This is a low area in the center of town. 2 submersible 20-horse pumps. Discharge piping is 6-inch. It eventually flows into that Hartsdale Pond through the Central Avenue ditch. Facility drains areas south of US 30 and east of 41, and there is no backup generation at this site. Third one is the Hartsdale Pond. That's 2 submersible 100-horse pumps. Discharge piping is 12-inch. This facility drains the 21-acre Hartsdale retention pond into the Spring Street ditch. This facility receives water from Central Avenue Ditch Network near Sherwood Golf Course and includes stormwater from downtown Cherville. This is a Lake County-owned facility, and we do weekly maintenance checks on Fridays at this facility for the county. We've done it for 14 years now, just to make sure everything's operating correctly. We're right there, so we've kind of assumed control of keeping up with this thing for them. Each one of these 3 stations will get 1 control panel. Control panel electrical drawings. It'll have a modem and a cellular antenna to get the signal out. It'll have an exterior PLC cabinet, analog input cards, transducers, OIT screens, a small backup battery unit in case of loss of power. We'll be integrating it into the water department SCADA system, and basic alarms for power failure, battery failure, pump fail, and high and low level. They'll be connected to a Verizon network and provision modem for the system. So the cost to implement this thing would be $46,733 per station. So grand total of $140,199. We're looking for 50% of the overall cost from the commission, which would be $70,099. And the 25% would come from Town of Cherville stormwater funds. And I have a verbal commitment from Lake County surveyors to cover the remaining 25%. So $35,000 each for Cherville and Lake County and $70,000 for the Little Cal. Summary, these stormwater facilities prevent flooding in Cherville homes and businesses as well as other areas. A more reliable alerting system that sends alarms to the SCADA system when failures arise would be beneficial to prevent flooding and ensure quality of life as well as dry basements during storm events. You guys have any questions for me?
Any questions, Sean?
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Just out of curiosity, is there one station that sees more runtime than the other?
That Stonebridge station, the ground is real wet there. And that's why that station was put in. That one probably runs about as much as Hartsdale. Hartsdale's a storage facility. 21 acres. It's pretty big. That one runs quite a bit, but I think that Stonebridge one runs about the same, has about the same run hours on it.
The Stone Bridge was the two above ground.
Hey, can we go back to the map, please?
Yeah, they're vertical
Okay,
style
yeah.
pumps. So
Yeah,
there's a how would I call it? A weir wall? What would you call it, Jimmy?
Yeah,
A weir that comes down, and the pumps are vertical style. They pump the water out of that weir and out those two 16-inch dual pipes. Go under a
It's the next
roadway
slide.
and they tie into the Cherville ditch there.
All right.
Is that the largest one in town?
That is the largest of the town-owned ones. That Hartsdale facility is big. Like I said, that's responsibility of the county. We just assumed, I'll call it, not maintenance, but the weekly checks on it, ensure it's properly working.
Do any of your other
Inspections.
pump stations have SCADA?
No, the water department ones, yes, this is all new for the stormwater side. We want to add this so we know what's going on when it goes on. Right now, it's just a weekly check on Fridays. If something goes out from Friday to Friday, we don't know it.
You guys do a PM, you don't do the maintenance though.
Correct. Correct. If anything goes wrong at Hartsdale, I call the county and they send out a contractor to fix if it's a pump failure or electrical. It's all on the county at that facility and responsible for the other two. We do everything at those two.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Just
Yes,
one
sir.
real quick. Would you guys be open to alternate proposals out of curiosity?
The only reason I only got the proposal from Austin Electric was because the
I'm
town
sorry.
has awarded them the contract for the SCADA system for the water department already. Usually we
Right.
follow the three
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I misspoke. I meant alternate proposals from us in terms of the 50%. My apologies.
So what's your question, Anthony?
Yeah, would they be open to alternate, let's say, support from
Funding.
us? Funding.
Oh, I'm
From
sure
us.
they'll take more.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd be glad to take more, but I'm trying to be fair here too. We don't want to be too greedy. You guys been great with this over the years. You funded a bunch of, helped us fund some projects. We appreciate it very much, but I'm not gonna get greedy with this. We have a means to pay for some of this stuff too.
And follow up, Anthony.
Negative. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anything else, gentlemen? Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
So, Mr. Repay, I have a question. So obviously, all the municipalities have this kind of setup, correct? From the standpoint of internal pump stations that are not part of our system that we manage, correct?
Oh, yeah.
So is this something that advisory talks about as it relates to how other communities are doing it? So everybody's not on something different. We start working on a more uniform stormwater type of a program, or is that asking?
No, I mean, I think each individual community wants to have their own information, and I'll pick on Dean because he's here with sanitary district, but they have their own SCADA system that they keep control of all the pumps and the storm and the combined sewers. So it's not something that you could uniformly put together because like they wouldn't want our stuff. Like we have the same situation that they have. It's Verizon, it's set up. It's, I can sort of sympathize with them because before we did it, we had to go out there. So when it rained, you had to go check it. And if it was pumping, hey, it was working. If it wasn't, you had to go figure out what. Now this way, it's probably going to all be fed to their phones or whoever the lead person is on duty that day. And they know what's happening and they can go address it as opposed to, as he said, it's a Friday to Friday thing. So if it happens on Saturday, if the power goes out, that's it. Feel free to add it.
That current SCADA system that we have now was an old radio network, so it would send signal out of radios. Trees block the signal, storm events block the signal. That's why we decided to go the route with the cellular system.
It's like having direct TV.
Correct. Correct. Thank you.
See, everyone can sympathize with that. When the weather's bad, you can't watch the Weather Channel.
Thank you.
Makes perfect sense, right?
See? That's an analogy. Everyone gets that one.
It's a good one. That was a good one, Chirp
Yeah.
Chirp.
That's why I got that chirp chirp. Exactly. Ball shape. Why?
Let's go.
I got rid of them and I got YouTube and then they took off ESPN and that was terrible. The next one is Lake County Parks for the purchase and acquisition of McNaughton Development, asking for 32% or $475,000. I'm gonna be the audio-visual person. He has the notes and you guys are gonna be blessed with me having to go through the application. You guys already seen the application. I'm gonna just share my screen to help Craig here out from Lake County Parks describe his vision. So, give me 1 second. Hey, go ahead. I mean, they're used to me being delayed with audio-visual, so we're good.
Yeah, we're just gonna take one map from the application, one overview map that kind of shows the property and what it entails, so that'll probably be the best one. You can just. What if it shows the drains? Yep.
That's the one you want?
Yep.
All right.
Holy cow.
Whoa.
Got it. All right, thank you, everybody. My name is Craig Zanstra. I'm the Planning and Natural Resource Superintendent for Lake County Parks and Recreation. To give you a quick site overview here, this would be our future Lake Hills site, basically 77th Avenue to the north, Klein Avenue to the east, Austin Avenue to the west, and then 85th Avenue on the south. You've helped us previously on the initial 100-acre acquisition, the Saros tract, which is the chunk in the middle from 77th to 85th. Also assisted us with the Spurlock track at 85th and Klein. And then also recently with the Harvest Ridge Church track at the.
Those aren't on this map though, right?
Yeah, they're all there. They're in the green. They're
in the green.
Yeah, on the green.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and so the green was the corner of 77th and Austin. We acquired that one as well. Which is part of that large wetland basin that's been in several of your past watershed management plans. So anyways, with that, also looking at it from, the geographical perspective, Turkey Creek, this is a headwaters area for Turkey Creek. Effectively, Turkey Creek splits at 77th Avenue. From 77th Avenue west all the way past Austin Avenue. That's a legal drain, Turkey Creek is. And then as it goes east, it's not a legal drain. However, it goes through Chapel Lawn Cemetery back towards the Pensa Greenway up the Grand Canyon, which is a large stormwater area for the town of Schererville. And if you look at it, where the Spurlock track is at 85th and Klein, that lateral actually starts right there in the Spurlock track, goes underneath Klein Avenue. There's wetlands on both sides. County Commissioner Zone wetlands on the east side of Klein Avenue, which we're hoping to get transferred to us at some point. So really you've got this area surrounded by Turkey Creek and its headwater area. The McNaughton tract, which we're talking about now, it's right along 85th Avenue. It also butts up against the original Saros acquisition. It's almost 31 acres, and there's a small tributary of Turkey Creek that goes underneath Austin Avenue and then goes back southeast and then goes back under 85th Avenue into St. John in that area. So that drains probably another 80 acres south of 85th Avenue. That little stream. It's not a lateral or anything. It's got some flow most of the time. And then this track itself, McNaughton, looking at some of the stormwater benefits. Of course, we've got some wetlands. The probably of the 31 acres, I think about 15 acres would be considered wetlands. Of those wetlands, though, a lot of them are isolated. So if it would be developed, you'd probably be able to lose those wetlands either through mitigation or whatever would be allowed by the state or the county or whoever. So the other 15 acres, the west 15 acres, is pretty much heavily wooded. It's got large oak, hickory, walnut on it. It's got a couple isolated wetlands in there. And of course, that's where the stream goes through. The east 15 acres, that actually has two homes on it along 85th Avenue that are now abandoned. They were rented out. There's one barn there as well. Those would be just taken down. There's also several wetland pockets between 85th and that Saros track. One very large wetland, a little bit right on the boundary, the north side of that east 15 acres, which is already protected on the north side through the county park, but some of it does go onto that 15 acres as well. So looking at the benefits there, of course, you've got large trees, deciduous trees. those large hardwoods take a lot of stormwater in. There's some statistics behind it where you're getting, thousands of gallons of stormwater each year that those trees soak up and use. There's no doubt about it. The wetlands on the site will be able to store water after large rain events, hold the water, slowly release it over time, which is critical for not just the wetland and the stormwater values, but just for water quality downstream. You're not releasing it quickly, you're holding it and slowly releasing it over time. And then also with the drains that go through here, you look at the whole site now, it's, with the McNaughton acquisition, this would push the site to almost 160, 170 acres. With the property that would be transferred from the county commissioners, and a couple of other acquisitions we know we can do here. We'll be pushing a 200-acre site here. So that in itself, you look at all 200 acres together, that's a lot of stormwater that's going to be held. Also, we've been talking with Chapel Lawn Cemetery. They're going to be selling us an easement between that southeast track along 85th and Klein to be able to connect both parcels together, which would effectively connect the McNaughton track with Spurlock, and then also would allow some time for a trail to come from the southeast corner of the site, but I'll get into that in a minute. And then also mentioning Chapel Lawn Cemetery again, they're a great neighbor. They work with us to have access to the county park through the cemetery. They've also got some storage areas and some wetlands that we both own in common. And so we've already talked to NOAA. That's National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. They have some grant money available that we've been looking at using along the Little Calumet River, some of our Little Calumet collaborative projects. And so this site, we're looking at doing some structures on the cemetery to help store more stormwater, also remeandering Turkey Creek along that northwest side at some point. So over time, I think there'll be some other projects that could go on that will help even store more stormwater. Also, looking at the recreation, well, I'll mention this too, as far as the green infrastructure goes, this is what this really is green infrastructure that is probably your highest, as far as your best long-term, low-cost stormwater storage. Once the property is acquired, it's going to be doing its job in perpetuity. There's no other issues needed as far as no inputs or anything else to do its job. It's going to be doing it. As far as St. John Township goes, this would be probably the third largest area of open space in St. John Township. Hoosier Prairie is the largest. Then you're going to have Oak Ridge Prairie, and then this will be right after it. So looking at St. John Township in particular, especially the west side of the county, everybody drives through. There's a lot of development going on. There's very little conservation happening. This is one of those sites that's going to allow us to have a large area of open space in the middle of an area that's developing rapidly. So that will be a benefit to a lot of people. Looking at the recreation side of things, it's very possible that we'll be able to get a trail from the northwest corner of this site at 77th and Austin all the way down to the southeast corner at 85th and Klein. Schererville Heights subdivision. They have some parkland at 85th and Klein, but on the east side of Klein Avenue. They've already talked to us, and that would be a great area for a trailhead. So effectively, you'd have a trail that would perpendicular across this entire site. So for people and for recreation and programs, park programs, everything else, it would be a large area for people to enjoy. One of the biggest things we get from people now in Lake County, they want areas of open space where they can get in nature, enjoy solitude and peace. And this would be one of those sites. Also, from a trail perspective, there's a lot of grade change here. It's Lake Hills area of Lake County. It's aptly named. From 77th to 85th, there's probably about 50 feet of grade change. So any trails that go on the site effectively will go up and down, but you will have a lot of grade change where, having the public out there, it leads a lot of interest for people recreating. And also that's what leads the site to having a lot of wet pockets that hold water after storm events. So it kind of goes both ways. As far as quality of life, with open space, that's a given for helping with the quality of life. This area especially, there's still a fair amount of people along Austin Avenue and other places that still are on groundwater yet and are in wells. So, having this site, helping recharge some of the groundwater, also some of the wetlands along the site here too, that'll help with recharge and letting that water get down back into the water table. So anybody in a well is going to appreciate more of the open space being preserved in this area. Also, any of the quality of life issues, your physical, mental, And emotional health is definitely improved by being out in open space and nature. It's been a proven fact, so that would continue. Private property values. Any of our open space, any of the county park sites that we have, any adjacent open space sees a direct benefit in the value of their land because of the county park that they're next to, especially sites like this that are quiet and nature-based. That's where people want to live up against it. There's no ball fields, lights, things like that. So they get the benefit of the open space and then also the solitude, and it helps their property value. Also water quality benefits. Turkey Creek is on the IDEM 303D list for being impaired waterway. So this is one of those projects that honestly you can put in here that's going to slow that water, like I mentioned, hold the water, slowly release it, and really helps benefit water quality downstream because you're not releasing it so fast. And so for Turkey Creek, I think that's a great thing. You know, there's open space up and down Turkey Creek, but this would be one of the places, of course, in the upper parts of the watershed that would hold water. So I think that's just as important as some of the midstream or even lower stream areas of storage. Also looking at the big picture, this area is part of another area of open space nearby. You have Rorman Park up off Route 30. Between there and Rorman Road, you've got the Pencer Greenway Trail. That goes between right there. You've got Chapel Lawn Cemetery. I mean, like it or not, a cemetery is open space. So this area, if you look at this chunk here in that area, there's a lot of area here that would be kept open and not developed, which you don't see a lot of that around here. You got the Lake Hill site, then also downstream to the southwest, you've got the Lake Hills Park site that the town of St. John manages. There's probably a good 70 to 80 acres of wetlands and also Gulf Lake there right off 85th Avenue, which is real close to this. So you've got several areas of open space all in line here, which, add a lot to this part of the county. Also then looking at the budget for it, we've got, of course, the request here to Locale Commission, and we have been, of course, very thankful for the help you've given us on this site and other sites in the past. We've also got some opportunity with an upcoming Indiana Coastal Grant. So we'll be requesting $500,000 from them for that. And then we've got a couple other sources that we're looking at. And I think we can get them for the last $500,000 basically to get this project done. So, and if we have to, we've done in the past on 2 of these projects where we work with the Conservation Fund where they help buy the property for us first. And then as we get our funds in through grants and other awards, then we pay them back. They give us a low-cost loan, hold the property for us, and then eventually we pay them back on all of it. So we've got that opportunity here too. But regardless, we've got a willing seller. This developer develops properties in Illinois largely. They were trying to do it here in this area, but it just didn't work out with some of the land acquisition that we were able to do nearby and adjacent to them. So we've got a willing seller from a developer, which is almost unheard of. I've not seen that ever in my years here at the park. So I mean, it's something, it's an opportunity that we want to try and take advantage of. The site will probably get a little bit larger, but this piece of open space in this area, I think would be a win-win. Any of the acquisitions we've done here in the past, the residents in the area, we've got multitudes of comments through Facebook and other places where people were thrilled to know that there's an area in St. John Township that's not going to be developed. So more of that, and I think the public really supports it. So glad to answer questions.
How much do we pay for the previous acquisition per acre?
I'd have to dig that up for you, but I could get that for you.
I had a similar
I
question.
think you helped us 200,000 on the Ceros, and that was.
I'm talking overall.
I'd have to get that number.
Yeah,
for you.
that's fine. Yeah. And then I'm looking at the breakdown here that you provided, and 500,000 was from DNR, state parks, and then you had a compilation of NOAA, DNR, nature. How much money is the Parks Department putting into this deal?
Well, we've got some funds available
through our cum cap.
Yeah, we've got some funds available through our cum cap fund, so it's very possible that the county park board puts in a couple $100,000 on this one as well at the end of the day. So, that's what we're looking at from the county park side. In addition to what we put in already with appraisal surveys and everything else. I know that's not as much as land costs, but still we've got some input there, and there'll be more coming. So
has anything been done with the previous purchases, or has it just been left as open space?
Up to this point, there's not been anything else done on these purchases because at first when we bring the first purchase with Ceros, we were thinking if we had 100 to 120 acre site out here someday, we'd be lucky. it just so happened that the Spurlock track at 85th and Klein came available right after that. And we jumped on it. We were able to get the partners to get it done. And then lo and behold, McNaughton came to us and said, hey, we're willing. We want to get this done. And so it's almost a case where we've had these other parcels come, the church property as well. They just came to us and they were willing sellers, wanted to be part of this. And so that's why it's been more of a concentration on getting these parcels bought and developed, or at least bought, purchased, and set aside. And then now, we're starting some of the process with NOAA and some of the grants to look at some of the stormwater storage and some of the preliminary plans for how the public will access the site. But it's preliminary yet. So it's really been just the way things have shaken out here, where these properties are available. If we don't get them, they're going to be gone. So
I have two questions, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
One is I'm looking at the map just to make sure I'm understanding it. This looks like two distinct properties that equals 30 acres with this space in between. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. There's a 10-acre track in between them.
Okay.
But it
And then
doesn't
the
stop the public from accessing either side, or would.
Yeah, of course, right. Then the other question is, in your presentation or in your speaking, you said, I think it's the West Track, maybe it's both, has isolated wetlands, and you said if we might lose them depending or subject to jurisdictional authority to allow the wetlands to be maybe developed. And I think you mentioned the state and others. Doesn't the town also have jurisdiction over what happens in this area, regardless of who owns the land?
Yeah, well, this parcel is actually not a town of Cherville, it's St. John Township, so it's unincorporated. So Lake County Plan Commission would issue any permits to develop the site. But being that these wetlands are isolated, that they wouldn't be jurisdictional, I'm not sure how much or how many. We'd have to, whoever would develop it would probably have to do that due diligence. But I mean, there's a fairly good chance that the isolated wetlands, especially the ones on the east side of the track, and maybe a couple of those ones on the west side, they could be filled in or mitigated for, because I mean, it happens all the
But
time.
you have relationships with Lake County Plan, right? Like if you don't want this area.
Yeah.
That's all the other questions. That's all the questions I had.
All right. So, I've been pointed out a couple of times that I'm not an engineer, but I do know that water flows downhill. So if this is the headwater, how are we getting 20 acre feet of storage up there with this?
Well, we're going to be getting it through, number one, there won't be any development on the site other than some trails. So if you look at the wetlands that are on the site now, after a large storm event, they'll be able to get up to capacity as far as the size of them. So I think the way I would classify that, and maybe I do go a little bit on the high side as far as what I'm saying it's going to store, but the wetlands on the site, what's that?
Just like the price.
Well, the wetlands on the site will hold more water after storm events. That stream that comes in from south of 85th Avenue, that's got some areas along it that could hold more water as well. And
20 acre feet though, where is it? You're getting it out of this?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
According to whom? Who looked at that for you?
Well, I would say just from some of the experience we've had, from some of the numbers we've seen, some other acquisitions. So yeah.
Mr. Chairman, let me renege. I have one more question. Yeah, sorry. You said, so you had willing seller, I guess, right?
Mhm.
Is 50,000 an acre? Because it sounds like this is $1.5 million between $500,000 from us and $500,000 from two other entities, right?
Yeah.
Is that, how does that square with prices that you guys have paid in the past? I guess it's similar to Commissioner Wichlinski's
It's not far off from what we've paid recently in this area. I mean, the cost, the price per acre is definitely going up. Land values are. So I mean, it had two appraisals on it, and so I mean, you're consistently seeing land selling in this area per acre for anywhere between 20 to 50, 60,000, 70,000.
I guess that's why you have a willing seller at 50. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I mean, but we had to get a appraisal to get a value on it, and that's what it came back. And so, I mean, there's some factors here. It could have probably been higher if it had no wetlands on it, or wasn't wooded, or maybe the topography was a little better. But it probably did bring the value down a little bit. But still, if you look at this area, the property values, they're way up there. So this is what we're paying now. So
You have any intel on what they paid for it?
what they did was they bought each individual 10-acre tract. So there was 6 10-acre tracts that they purchased. So I'm not sure what they paid per track, but they did that over probably about a 5-year period. McNaughton did. They bought the parcels, each 5-acre track, and what they were trying to do was to buy everything along 85th up to Klein Avenue, and they were going to develop that whole south end that's unincorporated Lake County. But then the seller at Spurlock on the corner, she didn't want to develop, and she was a willing seller for us, and we bought it. Once we bought that, and that parcel
Yeah,
that's in the
locked them
middle,
out.
that other 10-acre track, they weren't going to sell either, so they were kind of stuck at that point. But still,
Was that a recent 5-year period, or was it like 20 years ago?
no, it was just in the last 5 years that McNaughton's been
Roger.
working on buying this. Yeah, just this,
Thank
we've
you.
been working with them now for just about the last year. So up
Okay.
until about a year ago, they were actively buying right there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions, gentlemen?
That was the one how long have they owned it?
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Not,
Thanks. Oh, how long?
yeah,
That's
that's a 5 year.
I would say probably from 5 years ago till now. So probably about 5-6 years total. They've owned these 6 parcels.
And they weren't gonna do any development unless they owned it all.
Yeah. For them, it was more feasible to have more property, I guess. So and they actually had the option on Saros before we bought it, and they gave it up. And then the wetland laws changed. They were having issues with planting around some of the wetlands on that first 100 acres, and so when that changed, then they had already let their option go with the Saros family, and then we came in and were able to get the partners to get it bought. So
Would you say right now it's at the high end?
as far as the cost per acre,
Yes.
I would say it's probably middle to slightly middle as far as like the scale, 0 to 100. So I mean, I would say 50 to 75% as far as values go in that area. It's not 100%, it's not the highest, but I would say it's in that half to 3/4 range. So, yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Appreciate it.
All right, moving right along.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to authorize the executive director to advertise for bid on the Kennedy Avenue Bridge project.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. Mr. Repay.
So we did this back in 2015. This by far is our largest problem in the system as we sit here today. It's represents a 5-foot gap on Highland and Hammond side that they need to close. We've heard from both Hammond, Highland, the county. They all support this. We can talk about it more later, but
All right, back to the commission. We've been talking about this for years. You know, one of the things that started was way back when we ramped up the engineering when we were trying to secure some federal funding during the previous administration. Didn't come to fruition. Everybody's supportive of it. This is a great project. It's a great project. It's something that should be done. I'm concerned just from my perspective on the timing and how come we're not seeing any other dollars coming in from some of the other folks who feel that it's a good project. Biting all of this off on our own nickel is a little challenging for me personally, but I'm just one.
Mr. Chairman, if I could add really quickly, we did Harrison Street Bridge in Gary. And we
did Harrison Street Bridge in Gary,
and we did it all by ourselves.
I did, and there was a reason why we did that. Why?
We were trying to get rid of human intervention.
Correct. And
It never flooded because the cause of the flooding at IU was because of the storm sewers causing a infiltration underneath the levee, not because Harrison ever flooded.
When did we do that project?
Probably 10 years ago.
And it was a manpower issue at that particular location for sure.
Look, this whole thing is a design fault by the federal government.
I
Look, back in
understand. I've been dealing with it since then.
In 2006, they should have fixed this problem when they rehabbed this thing. They didn't. My predecessor should have said something. Your guys' predecessor should have said something. But we're still left with this.
Understood.
Yeah.
Any other comment?
Harrison ain't
Motion and a
Kennedy
second.
Avenue either. Harrison ain't Kennedy Avenue either.
Right. Any other discussion? We've got a motion and a second.
Just for clarification, Harrison Street Bridge was completed in 2018 at a cost of about $2.357 million.
Our CFO. Mr. Repay, you said 5 foot gap. You meant, just to clarify for the public, I guess, that's a vertical gap from the 100-year to the 200, or what is that specifically?
That's the closure that has to be put in by the town of Highland and the city of Hammond in the event that we need to close it at 598. At 598, it starts to hit the bottom of the bridge, so then they have to activate. So they have to build a wall vertically. Well, it depends. Highlands, I think, is less. I think it's 4.7 feet. Hammond's 5.2, but you can split the difference and say it's 5 foot of a gap to get to the 200-year plus 2 feet level, which is consistent with the rest of the levee.
Okay. And this doesn't, I think it does. The approaches actually do border the abutment to the actual interchange with the 8094, right?
As designed, this would require no closure.
Oh, okay. And no design change to the intersection there?
Well, they lift up the intersection for the approaches, but not.
Yeah. Okay.
At the ramps.
Yeah. I'm with Mr. Chair, with the chairman. This is probably our most important project.
All right, motion and second. Any other discussion? Be there none. Mrs. Lambert.
Tom Rushinsky,
Yes.
Tom Gostecki,
Yes.
Anthony Brodnick,
Yes.
Dave Castellanos,
Yes.
Ron Ware,
Yes.
Robert Ochi,
Yes.
Levon Whitaker,
Yes.
William Baker.
Baker says no, based on it being a great project, but no help from any other entities. Motion passes. All right, moving right along.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to table the advertisement for bids on Optimus Lake Improvement Project.
There's a motion to table. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion, Mr. Repay. What's going on with this project?
We're tabling it, so
All right. So we don't want to talk about it.
if you want to, we can, but it's a table. So if you table, you just move it back and it has to be picked up at the next meeting.
If the motion passes, though, right? It could fail.
Good point. All right, we'll talk about a project we're tabling. I'm assuming we're tabling. So this is the Optimus Lake recreational component. It was brought to us by the city of Hammond and the SSCVA initially, and then they didn't have the funding to pursue it further to the extent that they could, and so they backed down, and then we picked up the torch and went forward with the design. We have an interlocal agreement with SSCVA, the Legacy Foundation, and the city of Hammond currently, where we're paying for half the design. The design is ready. We had a work study session dealing with this design. So here we are.
Why do we want to table it?
I feel there's more research that needs to be done as far as the corridor that exists from the Wendy's to the trail. I feel that we need to look into possibly expanding the project and getting alternate bids for various components and seeing how much we can spend. I think overall the project is great. I just think it needs to be fine-tuned a bit, in my opinion.
So you're not opposed to it. It's not a comprehensive project in your opinion.
They say it's 90% complete. At the work study session, I know there were some concerns that were brought up with regard to, in my opinion, them almost dismissing the importance of proper conveyance of people safely. Like I said, from the visitor center to the trail.
So the tabling would kind of kick it back to the designers? And then
Yes, I think it needs more discussion.
Roger.
Did we talk about tying this in with the Kennedy Avenue Bridge and kind of having some continuity between the two, or are these just been two distinct projects?
Yeah, they're right next to
They've
each
never
other.
been presented as one, but
No.
they do certainly impact the same area, in my opinion.
Well, they're all right there. I get it.
Yeah, right
That's
next to each other.
Question.
We never presented them as two. We presented them as complementary, but separate projects. Because you don't know what you're going to get when you bid out Kennedy. That could force you not to be able to afford the boardwalk or even pursue the boardwalk. So they're separate projects.
So I mean, as we tie into the new bridge concept, should that happen, we always talk about the connections between materials. So the connection between that project and this project, because the whole premise and even bringing it up was try to get more folks that come into the visitor center to engage in the rivers, amenities, quality of life, the trees, all the great things that are associated with it, and be it more than a ditch and have it be a more quality of life, focus on the visitor center, but to bring those people towards the river, not keep them in the building. So I think that's part of the continuity component of trying to bring folks down. Now, I don't know who, they could ride horses. Evidently, we could ride horses a lot.
Horses.
No horses. Oh, that's right. There's a big sign in right by my house.
It
Okay.
used to be. I don't know how that went away.
Horses.
But yeah,
All right.
if we have more questions, I'd be happy to forward those
Any
to
other-
the designer.
Any other discussion? What comments?
I want to go back to the work study sessions we had a couple weeks ago. We did talk about how those two, although they aren't necessarily connected, there's accessibility and accesses to both those projects. Kennedy Avenue Bridge with their circular approaches coming down from the street down to the river level. And then there's a recreation component we talked about too, with the Optimus project, right? And the canoeing possibility or whatever recreational aspects of that. So I think we did talk about the coordination of those two projects.
I mean, it could actually be
separate.
cheaper to do them together because you don't have the interface
Well-
between contractors, right?
Yeah, you would get more efficiencies that way, of course.
Right. I mean, not cheaper, cheaper than doing the two separately, potentially.
More economical.
More economical.
Okay, any other discussion? Got a motion and a second. Be there none, Mrs. Lambert.
Tom Rashinsky,
Oh, yes.
Tom Gozdecki,
Yes.
Anthony Brodniks,
Yes.
Dave Castellanos.
Yes.
Ron Ware,
Yes.
Robert Ochi,
I vote no.
Levon Whitaker,
Yes.
William Baker.
No, just to be the contrarian. Okay, so that one's tabled. Next up is get ready for the next meeting, which is going to be December 17th, Wednesday. Check the website as it pertains to the location. I'm assuming it's going to be here because this is a nice place. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All those against? Hey, I'm going to stay.
Nay.
Thank you, everybody.